This is HFO's Multifamily Marketwatch, presented by Pacific Exteriors Northwest, a contractor specializing in siding and exterior envelopes, delivering exceptional quality and service for over 30 years. By Aprio, combining DeLapp's Pacific Northwest experience with Aprio's global resources to offer unparalleled tax, wealth management, and advisory services for real estate owners. And by Kennedy Restoration, helping residential and business owners recover from fire, water, mold, and storm damage.
Welcome back to Multifamily Market Watch. I'm Greg Frick, partner with HFO Investment Real Estate. Today we have with us back Eric Zimmerman, Portland City Councilor, District 4.
Great to be here. Thank you. Nice to see you again.
It's the same with you. It's been a busy year since we sat down last time.
Yeah.
Congratulations on getting on the council, and let's just jump right into somebody sits down. What are the signs of progress you see in Portland? Let's start with housing. I mean, what do you see this year? Where it's been and where you think it's going to go.
I think it's almost easier to talk about, have we stalled some of the bad stuff that we were experiencing the last couple of years? And so what we've seen now is, if you take a look at multifamily permits that were pulled over the last 2 years, we saw 50% reductions in the number of permits, right? That should scare and does scare any city official everywhere in America, right? That's not a good thing. But what we're seeing now is that if that trend line was going to continue, we would have expected that in the last report that I got as a member of the Housing Committee, we would have expected that to continue. And it doesn't look like that's the case. In our October numbers, we actually saw a spike up in an increase from year over year of the previous, which means we didn't just stop the decline. We actually grew a little bit.
This is applications coming in.
Applications coming in, right? That doesn't necessarily mean shovels in the dirt. Yeah, it doesn't mean that levels have started to come up into the sky, but it means there's an interest that the previous 2 years, people who wanted to put projects together chose not to choose us. And so choosing Portland is a really important part in that equation. Right. And I think that it's nice to stall the slide, but then I think we've also seen some growth. It's nothing to celebrate yet. It is, can we continue that in the next data point, the next quarter, in a couple more quarters? If that's the case, I'll feel good. And I think one of the reasons that we've seen that is that it was the first data point after we waived the system development charges. We talked about the SDC waiver. This was the first data point after those went into effect. Since that had been put in, yes. And so we saw just a slight increase. And so I feel good that got some attention. And we've got almost 2,000 units in the pipeline for that program. We're going to see how many of those truly come to fruition. But that's important. On the whole, though, when it comes to housing development, we are still in the hole as not just as a city, as a region, as a state. It's
as a country.
As a country, right? And we have been since the last Great Recession, right? We fundamentally changed the way that the market and the public and the way we build housing. So we feel that a lot here because we're one of those towns who has high rent, high mortgages, and that squeeze is really happening. Our naturally affordable units in the town, kind of the older apartments, those are going at a higher and higher market rate now because that's what's available.
Right.
And so we're challenged, right? It's not time to celebrate yet. It's time to work harder.
Join the HFO community and get weekly multifamily intel. Click to subscribe.
So let's go back to the SDC waivers.
Yeah.
Was it a change in, what got that through? Because it was kind of a change of tone as we talk. I've said it before on talking to various people. It's a start. That's not necessarily going to be the dry. It helps. It's not the only thing, but I think more importantly, it's the message out to the world that, look, we're now looking at trying to pull some levers to get it. What brought that about? Kind of on the backstory of how that got through? Because I don't know if that would have happened 2 years ago.
I don't think it would have. So I can't remember if on this show if maybe we talked about it, but I did talk about it during the campaign last year. A number of us did talk about an SDC waiver of some sort, right? The reason I talk about it is because I represent the downtown, right? If you move something from commercial to residential, there's probably not need for a bigger pipe because the big pipe has already been put in the ground, right? We already have the parks in downtown. So SDCs are about expanding capacity for the public infrastructure. Now, an SDC makes a lot of sense in East Portland, where you're going from single-family residences to maybe an apartment complex. You've got to increase the pipe. You got to make the road maybe a little bit wider. You got to put more bike lanes in, et cetera. So for my district, I was talking about it, right? I think that we can give up some SDCs in my district in order to incentivize what's already, we're just going to change the use and incentivize. So there are a number of people talking like that. And so is the mayor, and so is the governor. And so last spring, the mayor came to me and asked if he could put his initial proposal that he and the governor and I had been coming up with and put it through the finance committee that I was the chair of. We passed it out of finance. We passed it to the full council. And that idea has actually expanded to the whole city. So it's not just District 4 where we already have that infrastructure. We put a 3-year time frame on it, and we put a goal of 5,000 units. Now, I'd love to get to the end of 2 years and have 5,000 units have taken advantage of it, and then we can think about maybe we go further and bigger. But SDC waivers are not something you can do forever, right? SDC waivers are something you do in the moment. And if you think about what does it mean? So what does an SDC waiver really mean? It means between $20,000 to some upwards to $60,000 per door that you're developing of a cost that comes right off the top. Okay, so if you're spending $250,000 to build a unit or $300,000 to build a unit, and you can get rid of $20,000 to $40,000 off of that, then you're making projects pencil better. Right, that's the math behind it.
I mean, it's just the delta, the gap between making these things pencil.
And I know I'm doing the detail work in the way I share this with the general public. Obviously, you and your show, you guys get this a lot more than everybody who's maybe not in the industry. But that makes a difference. It's also why I think the general public was also supportive of it. It made sense. They get it. And in a crisis, you got to do big stuff. Right. And in the world of urban planning, an SDC waiver is not a very smart move in the larger scheme of things.
But in a specific crunch, time, and
yes, you've got to be willing to take bold action, a crisis moment, and we did that, right? From the governor to the mayor to my committee. So I was happy that we did that, right? And it sent a signal.
So you're in your District 4, which is downtown, and so. There's a fair amount of, that's one thing unique about Portland. We've talked about this before. Our downtown core doesn't have a lot of housing. So where do you envision that going in terms of a term? Is it the complexity or the, how it's laid out, or what's the kind of use? How do you see that as you're representing your district, is trying to push legislation through or talking to people about, is downtown going to change? It's not going to be what it was before. It's going to be something different. What is that message?
Yeah, well, I hope that downtown changes, in that a lot of downtown, the way we think of the most traditional parts of downtown, and we're talking around City Hall, we're talking around the Wells Fargo Tower, those areas were developed in a way that really didn't put residential living nearby commercial uses. That mindset around urban planning has kind of expired, right? You see downtowns who aren't active after 6 o'clock at night, and you'll see them all over the country. And there's a movement to get housing and get apartments and get things converted
back into those areas.
Into that area. And we can look at it in our own town where the huge difference is. Downtown, so Salmon and Alder and 3rd and 4th in that area, versus the Pearl District, 10th and Everett, 14th and Irving. You've got a mix of commercial, residential, and the Pearl District is active at night. It is a mixed income neighborhood. It's not just rich folks. It's not just poor folks. It's everybody. And you've got people who work 2 blocks from where they live, right? You've got people who go to restaurants 2 blocks from where they live. And in downtown, I actually think that should be our goal. We should get to more of a mix. And it's why we've seen South Waterfront, Pearl District, those areas have recovered post-pandemic on a very micro scale compared to our downtown neighborhood. And it has to do with residential or not residential.
So do you see that as kind of like the greatest opportunity for the city and the development community to try to look at maybe I don't want to say repurposing the financial district, but looking at it as more of a collective of uses and not so specific to just office, and how do we get residential in there and some other service kind of retail? I'm
taking the approach of the city should be the city of yes, meaning I don't know that the city is going to solve the market problem of this change in the way people work or the change. But we shouldn't have any plans on the table or any land use plans that say when a good idea comes across the permit desk that we don't say yes to it. So I think that that's a mindset change. We shouldn't be trying to, I think cities should protect industrial land, right? Because industrial land is something that cities have a hard time hanging on to. And from a wealth generating perspective, it's very important. But we're seeing this hybrid nature of residential and commercial or mixed use that we shouldn't be protecting those that segment off those areas when we're talking about the central city. It's different if I look at other parts of my district where they're highly residential, right, but they might have, and every district has these, they might have what I call like the micro downtowns. So think like downtown St. John's,
little main
downtown
streets
at Hillsdale, the old main streets.
Right.
In those situations, you like that you've got a little main street where you got maybe a dry cleaner, a laundromat, a grocery store, something small like that that's close by. You let your kids go in the summer. You don't have to check in with them all the time because it's a bike ride away. That's super important. But it doesn't mean that those residential neighborhoods become commercial districts. It means that it's a supportive ecosystem. But downtown, where you're already talking no such thing as height limits, you're already talking dense. You're talking restaurants, you're talking high density of business and residential. I think the mix is okay there. And people who choose to live in those types of urban centers, they understand that. And it's not we're losing our neighborhood. When you do that in other neighborhoods, there's a neighborhood feel that people will get really concerned about. We won't see that in the downtown area. It's just right now people are hoping for a safe, livable, clean.
Right. Some signs of recovery.
Some signs of recovery, and that means people. You want other people on the sidewalk with you. That makes downtown feel good, makes it feel safe. It's why we lit it up. It's why we're trying to put events down there. So I see that mix happening more and more.
So when you're out talking to investors about Portland, I mean, what's the feedback you're getting? You've been in office now. I mean, what are they saying to you as somebody sitting on city council?
Yeah, I'll caveat it with a little bit. I think I probably have more conversations with our local developers than I do with their investors, right? Those investors like to talk to the mayor. They don't talk to the city councilor as much. But I hear from the developers who they have to rely on investors to come here. And, when Portland is 80 out of 81 markets for investment, that should scare the hell out of us. Yeah. Because our system it relies on growth to be healthy, not just our tax system, not just our government, but all of our economic system. A city relies on growth. A city cannot be stagnant. So 80 out of 81 is not just
especially one that
stagnant.
Doesn't have a sales tax.
It's backwards,
yes.
Right. So what I hear, they want a stable Portland that has growth at least in its aperture. They can see it coming. It might be stalled right now, but they want it coming. So Portland City Council has a duty to put a stable Portland forward, right? Both in our own governing and the way we project this new form of government, which has been very rocky in this first year plus, but also in terms of what it feels like on the street, right? We did a lot of work as a community this last couple of years, really backpedaling from the Measure 110 disaster, right? Drugs in public,
didn't work
stupid
out.
experiment.
Yep.
It didn't work out.
Yep.
We all backpedaled from that.
Pivot.
And things are better.
Yeah.
I campaigned a lot on RVs on neighborhood streets was kind of the focus of so many problems in so many neighborhoods. We have cleared and gotten rid of so much RV camping in every single neighborhood in Portland compared to a few years ago.
Right.
So that also projects stability because it projects livability. And those kind of go hand in hand when I talk to the people who are asking, they're developers in Portland who are asking outside investors, please invest in our project. We want to put up a tower. We need your money to do it. And here are the things we think are improving. That's what they want to be able to share with investors so that we're not 80 out of 81. We'd like to be like we used to be, 1, 2, or 3 out of 81. It's been a while since we've been there.
Yes.
But that is if you're not in that world, and I wasn't, but I've learned that side of it, and it is, I think, shocking to most Portlanders is actually most stuff getting built in Portland is not with Portland money.
It isn't.
We have
I
to
always tell
recognize
people
that.
there's a little bit. It is kind of your money through your 401k, your retirement, through some. But it's
we have to recognize that,
yes.
right? It's
you're not going to build your way out of any housing. You're not going to develop your way out of it with just local money. It's got to be outside capital.
Not when we're talking the need for 20,000 units, right? It's one thing to talk about one house on your street that you live on, but when we're talking 20,000 units and considering like I own a unit in a building that's got 169 units in it, right? It's a big building. So how do you get that many to get to 10,000, 20,000 units over the next few years? That takes big money, outside money. I understand that. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure that Portlanders get some value and good wages out of that. But we need to be a place people are willing to invest. That's the market we live in right now.
Right. And then, so I know one concern is always just, you even brought it up, being the city that's kind of says yes to ideas and all, because I tell people it does feel better. It does feel cleaner things, but now it's shifted from kind of triage on that to what are we doing for economic growth? And as you mentioned, last year's been a little rocky with city council. And we, figured with the whole new council, it's going to take some time to kind of get your sea legs. How do you portray that to when people are talking about, okay, great, we've cleaned it up.
Yeah.
Now what's the next step? How is city council going to lead? We've got a little bit of it coming from Salem, which is good. But then locally, what can we do to kind of push that narrative?
So for me, what does that mean? That there's been two focuses that the city's, I think, blurred at different times over the last many years. One is our hyper local small business approach. And there's something about small business approach that matters for the economy because those are the people you see them. They're at the soccer game with their kids, right? Just like you are with your kids, and they are taking a chance opening up a storefront. And since 2020, that segment of Portland business really took it pretty hard. We all know those terrible stories. Many, even if they survived those 2023 years, they may not actually have had enough to keep it going and now into 26, right? They're on thin ice all the time.
Yes.
So there was a lot of focus on saving that aspect of the small business, the restaurant. Portland created the Office of Small Business to really try and get Prosper Portland to have one wing is focused on that small business. I think that's good because we were kind of doing it back of the napkin. In fact, before I was elected, I was doing it back of the napkin on behalf of, City Hall, right? I'd show up at a business who just had their windows all smashed in, and I'd connect them with the program that helps us pay for those grants to get them repaired and back it up and running. But it was a whole lot of people who were just like we all were in the pandemic. We were putting Band-Aids all over the place. That's not a strategy. But we recognize it's necessary. So this Office of Small Business is now, they're helping people with permits. You want to take a chance in one of those empty commercial office spaces that has low rent right now? We're going to help you do it. We can connect you. We know the owner. We know the agent. We'll do it. The other side, though, that we need Prosper to really stay focused on is our traded sector, right? Traded sector jobs allow us to be able to focus on small business, small sector jobs. The cool things that make Portland very kitsch and neighborhood, and every neighborhood has its own feeling, is because we also are attracting traded sector jobs. Right. The change in the state's economy from the world of the 1990s, you could predict a lot. In the early 2000s, predict a lot based on what Intel and Nike were going to do. So how do we incubate for that next type of traded sector job? So Broadway Corridor is the extension of the Pearl District. It's where the old post office was at in downtown. But we've funded an affordable building there. We are in the midst of funding a 100% restricted, but it's more middle income affordable, so more workforce affordable. And then the other parcels of that overall development, and Prosper's involved in all of this, is putting together a package that is attractive to a potential headquarters type of entity. That kind of ability to take care of small business, but also able to talk about really big economic moves is the kind of thing we need Prosper to be doing. And I'm, as a city councilor, Prosper is kind of a semi-autonomous organization for us, but we approve their budgets. They're a city entity, and I'm happy that they are outlining those two different trajectories because I think they're really important. And again, it gets back to, can we be the city of yes? When another sector wants to come in and take a chance on Portland, we should have the incentives and the infrastructure to say, we can see that happening too. Not a, oh my gosh, we don't know how to react. We're ready for you. In fact, look at these spaces we've designed hoping that somebody would take us up on that offer.
It is the hope then with, as we go, get this new city council in terms of how it's set up, is the thought that maybe we'll get to those answers faster? Because now it just seems as this last year, it's been pretty bumpy. And as a business coming in, they want certainty. The ones that are here is one thing, but how do we attract, some of the larger businesses that are going to drive some of this economic growth? How do we give them some certainty with? It's been kind of a little chaotic, I would say. Yeah,
it certainly has.
Yeah.
I would, and I've said this to my colleagues. I'd say it to anybody. I hope that we don't take what I would consider silly actions at the city council that we saw last year, where we see midnight moves to defund certain things. Right.
Right.
I'm hoping that there are wings of the city council who've recognized that those were inappropriate, dangerous, or ineffective. Frankly, governing is a mess when you try to govern only on campaign-style promises. Yeah. Governing takes coalitions. Governing takes compromise. Governing also takes smart collaboration on what are your second and third order effects to the headline that you want to grab. Well, underneath every headline, there's a story.
Right.
And I would encourage public officials to spend some time, understand the story before you just chase the headlines. And I am hoping that as the city of Portland enters its second budget season this next month in this new form of government, that we see a little bit more of a stable approach.
Okay.
Last year was not stable, and it had real effect, and not for a lot of outcome. Right? It was
right.
It was
a lot of show.
It was show. It was not stable. It was thrown into the blender only to come out pretty much at the 90 to 95% rate of what it went into the blender for. Right. So what was that chaos for? And I think that is, I am really reevaluating how I want to engage, what types of things I hear from my colleagues, from the public, how to build stability, how to build a growth mindset into the city. I've learned, and I think after a year of observation, I think there are a good number of people who were elected to the city council, and they kind of came in with this idea that anybody who was, quote, in the system previously was not in it for the right reasons, or they were counter to the things that got them elected. And I think that that's maybe waning. I hope it is. I think that people get into government, people get into service, people represent their neighborhoods for a variety of reasons, but generally it's because they want good things to happen
right.
on their constituents' behalf. And just because a person worked at the city of Portland or an elected person was on the city council in the old form of government doesn't mean that they were always wrong, doesn't mean that their approach is immoral. And there was some of that I think people kind of came in with. And it's something that you see happen with one or two candidates or newly electeds in almost any body. You see that happen. The difference was, we call that the freshman class in Congress, right? They're piss and vinegar and they're figuring it all out. When your entire city council is the freshman class,
it's a zoo.
Just imagine that, right? You started a high school and there are no sophomores, no juniors, no seniors. So there's no wayfinding, if you will. So I think that. So
you think that'll calm down a little bit?
I hope so. Okay. I really hope so. The best I can do right now is hope for it and try not to contribute to it.
So, I mean, we saw a lot of it even in Salem. There's a lot of first-time people in Salem. And I remember talking and saying, hey, there's going to be a lot of stuff thrown against the wall. But I think there was still, some, people that had been there before to kind of navigate that through. But like you said, at City Council, it was all one. And there was no roadmap as how it was supposed to be, or, this is how we do it. So, it
is really hard to say no to people. Right, we get lobbied, asked questions, asked for support on a million things every month. And I was in a meeting as part of the Housing and Homelessness Committee where we talked about where we thought we saw the city's role, and every counselor on that group of 5 talked about our role is in developing of housing, right, going toward new units, new capacity. I agree. The very next item that committee addressed was an item that was a debate about, do we fund new units or do we fund extensions of rent assistance that is a county function?
Right.
And we watched that previous conversation of our role is to develop
New housing.
And immediately that conversation for several members changed to, let's just do rent assistance because this group that I know or that group that I know, they need more rent assistance and I want to give them the in. It's hard to say no to those things. Whereas the county is the agency in our community who does the majority of rent assistance. So let's have the county do that while we focused on building new capacity.
Well, that's a whole other thing people don't think about with you guys is not only was it new, there was also the county layer within the state, the way we're set up. Yeah. So you've got a new form of government still dealing with this county. So for people that don't, it was kind of a, I mean, there was a whole learning of how this relationship's supposed to be. What's their bucket? What's your bucket? How do you, and that was, The buckets
matter.
Yes.
And there are a lot of people who, on council have never been in government before.
Right.
And so I have had fellow counselors ask me, why did the joint office get established? What is the county's role as the human services? Why are they the ones who do homelessness? Because they just truly didn't understand that is a role for the county, and the city generally is not in your human services role, but in crisis we've had to get there because the county decided not to do certain aspects of it. But I've had those conversations with members. I appreciate those who want to learn, and others kind of, they take that in stride, but their echo chamber is kind of from those provider networks, and so they know that only, and so they probably are governing more from a human services standpoint than Multnomah County standpoint. And so we have one of those challenges, right, where you can even recognize the bucket, but then swim in the one you're not really in. Right. It's confusing at times.
Like you said, it's hard to say no. I mean, you're hearing
it's
this.
It's hard to say no.
It's hard to say, no, that's the county that should be dealing with this, or that's a state issue. So it makes it really tough. So I applaud for all, for the work that you try to do and get through. And like I said, my hope is 26, it's a little bit smoother.
Yeah.
And, I do feel we've turned the corner on a lot of things. But I think now the focus really is back to economic growth, which, we've highlighted. So I want to thank you again for coming in and talking to the audience.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, the future of Portland is the future of the state.
Exactly.
We are the economic engine. We need downtown to improve. We're doing a lot to make that happen. And I'd also say, if you haven't visited downtown in the last couple of years, you're owed a visit. Yeah. Come see it. It is different than the last time you were here. Take in a show, have dinner. You're going to have fun. It'll be okay. It looks better than the last time you're here.
No, most definitely. So thank you for all your hard work.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks again. We'll see you next time on Multifamily Market Watch. Thank you. Thanks, Eric. That was great.
Yeah.
HFO's entire office specializes in multifamily real estate, making us the largest multifamily brokerage in the Pacific Northwest. Your success is our passion. Like and subscribe to Multifamily Market Watch videos on YouTube, articles on LinkedIn, and podcasts on all major streaming markets. Build your legacy with HFO. Call 503-241-5541 or visit our website at hfore.com for more information. HFO is a partner of the Global Real Estate Advisor Network.
Love the insights? Tap the like button and click subscribe. It helps us bring more multifamily news straight to you.